The story opens in the grand chamber of the Galactic Assembly, a massive sphere orbiting a neutral star system where thousands of species gather to discuss matters affecting the galactic community. Captain Laura Bennett, a human delegate, sits among representatives from hundreds of worlds. She is in her early 40s, sharp-minded, and carries herself with the dignity of someone who has seen both the best and worst of humanity. Beside her sits Dr. Marcus Cole, Earth's chief medical representative and advocate for disability rights, a man who uses a powered wheelchair due to a spinal injury sustained during his service as a military medic. The Assembly is discussing Proposal 447C, introduced by the Vorlian Collective, a highly advanced species known for their genetic perfection and rigid efficiency. The proposal is couched in clinical language and humanitarian rhetoric. It suggests that all member species implement mandatory genetic screening and selective termination of individuals with significant disabilities, both pre-birth and post-diagnosis. The Vorlians argue this is a compassionate measure to prevent suffering and optimize resource allocation across the galaxy. Ambassador Thulnora, the Vorlian representative, presents statistical models and efficiency charts. She speaks with cold precision about how disabled individuals represent an inefficient use of medical resources, require disproportionate social support, and contribute less to their societies. The proposal has already gained significant support from species that value collective efficiency over individual rights. Laura watches in growing horror as one species after another voices support. The Krell, insectoid beings who function as a hive mind, cannot comprehend why any species would maintain individuals who cannot contribute to the collective good. The Zentari, silicon-based lifeforms who have engineered themselves into near immortality, view biological imperfection as a solvable problem that lesser species simply refuse to address. When Earth's turn comes to speak, Dr. Cole wheels forward to the speaker's platform. The chamber falls silent. Many have never seen a disabled individual in such a prominent position. He begins by telling his own story, not as a plea for sympathy, but as a testament to human resilience. He speaks of Stephen Hawking, Franklin Roosevelt, Beethoven, Helen Keller, and countless others who shaped human history despite, or perhaps because of, their disabilities. He argues that diversity of experience, including the experience of disability, enriches a society rather than weakens it. The Vorlian ambassador interrupts, dismissing these examples as outliers and asking pointed questions about the resources Earth expends on disabled citizens. Dr. Cole responds with humanity's philosophical foundation, that the measure of a civilization is not its efficiency, but how it treats its most vulnerable members. Laura watches as his words fail to move the assembly. The vote is called. The result is devastating. Of the 847 member species, 644 vote in favor of the proposal. Only 89 vote against, mostly younger species who have not yet achieved the technological sophistication to implement such measures efficiently. 114 abstain. Earth is in the minority. The proposal will become galactic law, binding on all member species within 5 standard years. In the aftermath, as delegates file out of the chamber, Laura and Marcus sit in stunned silence. The Vorlian ambassador approaches, offering what she considers to be helpful advice on implementing the new protocols efficiently. Laura's hands clench into fists, but she maintains her composure. That night in their quarters aboard the human diplomatic vessel, they compose their report to Earth. The news reaches Earth like a thunderbolt. Major cities erupt in protests. Millions take to the streets, many of them disabled individuals and their families, but many more who simply cannot accept the moral bankruptcy of the galactic community. The media explodes with coverage, interviewing scientists, ethicists, religious leaders, and ordinary citizens. In Geneva, the United Earth government convenes an emergency session. President Catherine Walsh, a former prosecutor known for her fierce defense of human rights, addresses the global parliament. She makes clear that Earth will not comply with Proposal 447C under any circumstances. The question is not whether to resist, but how. The debate is fierce and far-reaching. Some advocate for remaining in the Galactic Assembly and fighting the law through diplomatic channels. Others argue for passive resistance, maintaining membership but refusing to implement the protocols. But a growing faction, led by Admiral Victoria Grant, the head of Earth's defense fleet, proposes something far more radical: complete withdrawal from the galactic community. Admiral Grant presents the military analysis. Earth is a relatively new member of the galactic community, having joined only 30 years earlier after achieving faster-than-light travel. In that time, humanity has proven to be quick learners and innovative problem solvers, but they remain technologically behind the older species. However, she argues, Earth's military doctrine is fundamentally different from that of most galactic species. While others rely on overwhelming technological superiority and efficiency, humanity has learned the hard way that determination, adaptability, and refusal to accept defeat can overcome superior force. The economic team, led by Director Nathan Chen of the Global Trade Commission, analyzes Earth's economic entanglements with the galaxy. The news is sobering. Earth imports advanced technology, exotic materials, and medical innovations from dozens of species. Cutting ties would mean significant hardship, but Director Chen also notes that Earth's exports, primarily cultural products, agricultural goods, and what the galaxy calls human creativity, are valued commodities. More importantly, Earth has been developing its own technological base and is not as dependent as many assume. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, the civilian scientist who led the development of Earth's quantum drive technology, addresses the Parliament with a revelation that changes everything. Her team has been secretly working on improvements to human FTL technology, reverse engineering, and adapting galactic designs. They have achieved something the galactic community believed impossible for a species of Earth's technological level: a self-sustaining FTL network that requires no connection to the galactic relay system. This changes the calculation entirely. One of the main arguments against withdrawal has been that Earth would be isolated, unable to travel beyond its local star cluster without access to the galactic relay network. But Dr. Mitchell's breakthrough means Earth can maintain interstellar travel independently. The galaxy cannot trap humanity in its own solar system. President Walsh calls for a global referendum. Every citizen of Earth, including children down to age 12, gets a vote. The question is simple: should Earth withdraw from the Galactic Assembly and pursue an independent course, or remain a member and seek to change the law from within? The campaign is intense. Those who favor remaining argue that isolation is dangerous, that cutting ties with hundreds of advanced civilizations will set humanity back centuries, that one law, however abhorrent, should not determine Earth's entire future. Those who favor withdrawal argue that some principles are non-negotiable, that a civilization capable of codifying genocide into law is not one worth associating with, that humanity must chart its own course. On the day of the vote, polling stations are overwhelmed. Turnout exceeds 97%. When the results come in, the decision is clear. 68% vote to withdraw. Earth will leave the Galactic Assembly. President Walsh delivers Earth's formal withdrawal notice to the Galactic Assembly. The speech is broadcast across the galaxy. She does not mince words. Earth condemns Proposal 447C as legalized genocide and moral bankruptcy. Humanity will not participate in a galactic community that has chosen efficiency over compassion, perfection over diversity, and utility over inherent worth. Earth withdraws not in anger, but in profound disappointment that the galaxy has chosen this path. The galactic reaction is mixed. Some species express quiet admiration for humanity's principles, even if they cannot openly support them. Others are dismissive, viewing Earth's withdrawal as the tantrum of a primitive species that will come crawling back once they realize the cost of isolation. The Vorlians are particularly condescending, with Ambassador Thulnora stating that humanity will learn the hard way that sentiment cannot replace efficiency. but a handful of species make surprising announcements. The Tharian Republic, an aquatic civilization that had abstained from the vote, announces they too will withdraw from the assembly. Their representative, Ambassador Kell, explains that they had abstained not out of indifference but out of fear, and humanity's courage has shamed them into action. Over the following weeks, 3 more species follow suit. The Kalari Confederacy, the Free Worlds of Sirius, and the Uashan clans, all young species with less than a century in the assembly, choose to leave rather than implement the protocols. Earth immediately begins the complex process of disentanglement. Human colonies scattered across a dozen star systems begin preparations for self-sufficiency. Trade agreements are renegotiated or terminated. Galactic citizens living on Earth are given the choice to leave or renounce their galactic citizenship and become permanent residents. Many choose to stay, unwilling to return to societies that have embraced what they now see as barbarism. Admiral Grant oversees the withdrawal of human vessels from galactic space. The United Earth Fleet, though small compared to the armadas of the older species, is recalled to human-controlled systems. Defense installations are built around Earth and its colonies. The Admiral makes clear that while humanity seeks no conflict, they will defend their independence with everything they have. Dr. Mitchell's team works around the clock to upgrade Earth's FTL network. New relay stations are built in human space, independent of galactic infrastructure. The technology works better than expected, actually proving more efficient than the galactic standard in some applications. This small victory boosts morale as Earth faces the reality of isolation. The economic impact hits hard. Unemployment rises as galactic trade dries up. Certain advanced technologies become unavailable, forcing humanity to either do without or develop alternatives. But Earth's economy proves more resilient than predicted. The crisis sparks a wave of innovation as humans work to fill the gaps left by severed galactic connections. Universities and research institutions receive unprecedented funding. The message is clear. If humanity is to survive alone, it must become self-reliant in every way. 6 months after Earth's withdrawal, Captain Laura Bennett, now commander of the diplomatic courier ship Defiant, receives a priority message from the Tharian Republic. Ambassador Kell requests a meeting at a neutral location. Laura is suspicious but curious. The Tharians had withdrawn from the assembly, but Earth has had limited contact with them since. The meeting takes place on a remote trading station in unclaimed space. Ambassador Kell arrives with a proposal. The species that withdrew from the assembly, now calling themselves the Independent Coalition, want to formalize their alliance. They propose mutual defense pacts, trade agreements, and shared technological development. Earth would not be alone. Laura brings the proposal back to Earth. President Walsh convenes her cabinet. The debate is familiar but different. Some worry about entangling Earth in new alliances so soon after leaving the old one. But others, including Admiral Grant, argue that strength in numbers is essential. The Independent Coalition may be small, but together they represent a viable alternative to the galactic mainstream. Earth agrees to the alliance, but with strict conditions. The coalition's founding charter explicitly protects individual rights, including the rights of disabled individuals. Any member species that implements eugenics programs will be expelled. The coalition will be based on voluntary cooperation, not hierarchical control. Each species retains full sovereignty over internal affairs. The Independent Coalition holds its first summit on Tharian Prime. The 5-member species are dwarfed by the Assembly's hundreds, but there is a sense of purpose and moral clarity that had been absent from the galactic body. Dr. Cole attends as Earth's representative, and his presence is symbolic. The coalition chooses him to deliver the opening address, a pointed message about the values they stand for. The coalition begins coordinating their technological development. Each species contributes their strengths. The Tharians are masters of bioengineering and sustainable ecosystems. The Kalari excel at energy systems and power generation. The Uashans, who evolved in the cold dark of deep space, have unmatched expertise in resource extraction and habitat construction. Earth brings its adaptability, creative problem-solving, and recently developed FTL innovations. Trade between coalition members flourishes. What was lost in galactic markets is partially recouped through increased internal commerce. More importantly, the coalition members find that cooperation based on mutual respect rather than hierarchical dominance breeds innovation. Ideas flow freely. Joint research projects yield results faster than expected, but not everyone in the galaxy is pleased by this development. The Galactic Assembly views the independent coalition as a threat to their authority. Economic sanctions are proposed against coalition members. Trade vessels are harassed in border regions. The Assembly makes clear that those who left are not welcome back, and those who remain neutral must choose sides. The crisis comes from an unexpected direction. A distress signal reaches Earth from the human colony on New Horizon, a frontier world on the edge of human space. The colony is under attack by raiders, ships of unknown origin using advanced weapons. Admiral Grant immediately dispatches a fleet, but New Horizon is 3 weeks away even at maximum FTL speed. Captain Laura Bennett, now commanding the warship Indomitable, is closest to New Horizon. She diverts course immediately, but her single ship will be vastly outnumbered. She sends urgent requests to the coalition for assistance. The Kelari respond first, diverting 2 of their fast attack cruisers. The Tharians pledge support, but their fleet is days away. When Laura arrives at New Horizon, she finds the colony's orbital defenses destroyed and 5 raider ships in orbit, bombarding the surface installations. Her tactical officer, Commander Jake Morrison, analyzes the raider vessels. The technology is a mix of different origins, suggesting these are pirates or mercenaries rather than an official military force. But their weapons are galactic grade, far superior to Earth's arsenal. Laura knows she cannot wait for reinforcements. The colony has maybe hours before its shields fail. She makes the decision to engage. The Indomitable drops out of FTL at maximum weapons range and opens fire immediately. The raiders are surprised by her aggression, expecting a new species to be more cautious. The battle is brutal. The raiders have superior shields and weapons, but Laura's crew fights with desperate creativity. They use the debris from the destroyed orbital platforms as cover, exploiting the raiders' overconfidence to land strikes on vulnerable systems. Commander Morrison coordinates point defense to intercept incoming fire, while Navigation Officer Lisa Grant, the Admiral's daughter, performs evasive maneuvers that push the Indomitable's engines to their limits. Despite their best efforts, the Indomitable takes heavy damage. 1 raider is destroyed, 2 more damaged, but Laura's ship is venting atmosphere and losing power. Then the Kelari cruisers arrive. The 2 sleek vessels drop out of FTL and immediately engage, their advanced energy weapons tearing into the raider formation. The tide turns. The raiders break off and flee into FTL. Laura wants to pursue, but her ship is barely holding together. The Kelari commander, Fleet Captain Varys, offers assistance. Together they stabilize the Indomitable and send rescue teams to New Horizon's surface. The colony has survived, but the damage is severe. Hundreds are dead, and critical infrastructure is destroyed. As Laura coordinates the relief effort, her intelligence officer, Lieutenant Daniel Park, makes a disturbing discovery. The raiders were using weapons and ships that match Vorlian military designs. Not identical, but close enough to suggest they came from Vorlian sources. The implications are staggering. If the Vorlians are supplying raiders to attack coalition worlds, it means the galactic establishment is willing to use irregular forces to punish those who left. Laura sends an encrypted message to Earth with her findings. Admiral Grant reviews the evidence and reaches the same conclusion. This attack was a warning, a demonstration that the independent coalition is vulnerable. The coalition convenes an emergency meeting. Earth presents the evidence. The Kelari have encountered similar raids on their frontier. The pattern is clear. Someone, likely the Vorlians or their allies, is testing coalition defenses and trying to destabilize the young alliance. President Walsh proposes a joint military command to coordinate defense of all coalition worlds. The proposal is approved unanimously. The attack on New Horizons serves as a wake-up call. The independent coalition may have right on their side, but they need strength to back it up. Earth's military-industrial complex shifts into high gear. Dr. Sarah Mitchell's team, now working with scientists from all coalition species, focuses on closing the technology gap. One breakthrough comes from an unexpected source. A human engineer named Henry Wu, who has cerebral palsy and uses a speech synthesizer to communicate, has been studying galactic shield technology. He notices an inefficiency in the standard designs, a flaw that more advanced species overlook because they have the power to compensate for it. Henry's adaptive technology background gives him a unique perspective on efficiency under constraints. Working with a team that includes Tharian bioengineers and Kalari energy specialists, Henry develops a new shield system that uses a fraction of the power of galactic standard shields while providing comparable protection. The design is revolutionary, adapting dynamically to incoming threats rather than maintaining constant full coverage. It is exactly the kind of innovation that comes from necessity and diverse perspectives. Admiral Grant immediately authorizes retrofitting the entire fleet with the new shields, but she also realizes this technology represents something more valuable. It is proof that the coalition's approach, valuing all individuals and all perspectives, generates innovation that the galactic mainstream cannot match. The disabled engineer they would have eliminated has given the coalition a significant tactical advantage. Other innovations follow. A Tharian scientist who lost her sight in an accident develops a new sensor array based on echolocation, providing detection capabilities that visual systems cannot match. An Uashan researcher with a degenerative neural condition creates a distributed AI system that compensates for biological limitations and leads to breakthroughs in fleet coordination. The pattern becomes clear. The coalition's diversity, including the diversity of disability, is a strength. People who have had to adapt to find creative solutions to everyday challenges bring those same skills to technical and strategic problems. The galaxy's loss is the coalition's gain. Dr. Cole, watching these developments, feels a profound sense of vindication. He compiles a report documenting each innovation and its source, showing the direct connection between the coalition's values and its growing technological capabilities. The report is distributed throughout coalition space and becomes required reading at military academies and research institutions. But the innovations are not purely military. Coalition medicine makes rapid advances as human doctors, Tharian bioengineers, and Kalari energy specialists collaborate on treatments and assistive technologies. New agricultural techniques from the Uashan clans, adapted by human agronomists, increase food production across all coalition worlds. Economic growth accelerates as the benefits of cooperation become evident. News of the coalition's success reaches the Galactic Assembly. Some species begin to question whether Proposal 447C was wise. If these breakaway worlds are thriving while the Assembly stagnates, perhaps there is something to be learned from their approach. But the Vorlians and their allies double down, insisting that short-term gains mean nothing compared to long-term optimization. 2 years after Earth's withdrawal, the Vorlian Collective makes its move. Ambassador Thulnora appears before the Galactic Assembly with a new proposal. The independent coalition, she argues, represents a threat to galactic stability. Their refusal to implement the euthanization protocols creates a refuge for genetic defectives from across the galaxy. Their growing military strength and technological innovation challenge the established order. She proposes economic blockade and, if necessary, military intervention to bring the coalition worlds back into compliance. The proposal is more aggressive than many species are comfortable with, but the Vorlians have built a coalition of their own. The efficiency-obsessed species, those who see biological perfection as the natural order, support the measure. The debate is fierce, but ultimately the blockade is approved. Coalition vessels will be prohibited from using galactic relay stations. Any species that trades with coalition worlds will face sanctions. Captain Laura Bennett, now Admiral Bennett after her promotion following the New Horizon incident, receives the news while inspecting the new fleet construction yards orbiting Earth's moon. The blockade is an act of economic warfare designed to strangle the coalition without open conflict. She immediately convenes the coalition military command. The coalition leadership faces a crucial decision. They can accept the blockade, relying on their independent FTL network and internal trade, or they can challenge it. President Walsh, now in her second term, argues for a measured response. The coalition should continue trading among themselves and with neutral parties while avoiding direct military confrontation. They must prove they can survive and thrive despite the blockade. But the Vorlians are not content with passive strangulation. 3 months into the blockade, Vorlian warships intercept a Kelari merchant vessel in neutral space, claiming it violated blockade protocols. When the Kelari captain refuses to submit to inspection, the Vorlians open fire, destroying the ship and killing all aboard. The incident galvanizes the coalition. This is no longer about economic pressure. It is about survival. The coalition demands the Galactic Assembly condemn the attack and punish the Vorlian commanders responsible. The Assembly refuses, citing the blockade authorization as legal justification for the Vorlian actions. Admiral Bennett receives authorization to escort all coalition merchant vessels through neutral space with military protection. The rules of engagement are clear. Coalition ships will not initiate combat, but they will defend themselves and any vessel under their protection with lethal force if necessary. The first test comes within days. A human convoy carrying medical supplies to the Tharian Republic encounters a Vorlian patrol. The Vorlian commander, Captain Solvek, demands the convoy submit to inspection and surrender its cargo. Admiral Bennett, commanding the escort force, refuses. She informs Captain Solvek that the convoy is in neutral space under lawful protection and will proceed on course. Any interference will be met with defensive force. The Vorlian response is to open fire, confident in their technological superiority. What follows shocks Captain Solvek and his crew. The human ships, equipped with Henry Wu's revolutionary shields, shrug off the initial volley. Coalition point defense systems, coordinated by the Uishan Distributed AI Network, intercept follow-up attacks with unprecedented accuracy. When the human vessels return fire, they do so with precision that speaks to months of intensive training and tactical innovation. The engagement lasts less than 10 minutes. 2 Vorlian ships are disabled, their crews evacuated before their vessels suffer critical failures. The human convoy proceeds without a scratch, delivering its cargo on schedule. The message is clear. The coalition will not be intimidated, and they have the capability to back up their defiance. News of the engagement spreads rapidly across the galaxy. The Vorlian military, accustomed to technological dominance, is humiliated. But more importantly, neutral species take notice. The coalition is not the weak, isolated group the Assembly propaganda claimed. They are capable of defending themselves, and their technology is advancing at a rate that challenges conventional assumptions about young species. The confrontation in neutral space forces the Galactic Assembly to reconsider its approach. The Vorlians push for military escalation, arguing that the coalition's defiance must be crushed before it inspires others to leave. But other species are less certain. The economic costs of the blockade are mounting, as trade routes are disrupted and neutral merchants avoid the region entirely. More troubling for the Assembly is what happens next. 3 more species announce their withdrawal. The Dorian Confederacy, an ancient civilization that had been part of the Assembly for over 1,000 years, publishes a scathing denunciation of Proposal 447C and declares they can no longer participate in an institution that has abandoned basic morality. The Antarian Federation and the United Systems of Beta follow suit within weeks. The independent coalition now numbers 8 species, representing over 40 star systems and a combined population in the hundreds of billions. They are no longer a minor irritant but a genuine alternative power block. Coalition merchants establish their own trade networks. Coalition scientists publish research that challenges galactic orthodoxy. Coalition worlds begin attracting immigrants from assembly space, people unwilling to live under regimes that implement eugenics programs. Earth becomes the de facto political center of the coalition, not through dominance but through example. President Walsh's leadership during the crisis has earned respect across coalition space. The coalition's founding charter, based heavily on human rights principles, serves as a unifying document, and innovations from Earth continue to drive coalition advancement. Dr. Cole, now serving as the coalition's ambassador at large, travels between member worlds promoting cultural exchange and collaboration. He becomes a symbol of the coalition's values, his presence a living rebuke to the Assembly's prejudices. On Dorian Prime, the ancient civilization's leadership asks him to address their planetary council. He speaks about the journey from Earth's withdrawal to the present, emphasizing that the coalition's strength comes from its commitment to the inherent worth of every individual. Back on Earth, the economy has not just recovered, but is booming. The initial hardships of withdrawal have given way to prosperity driven by innovation and expanded coalition trade. Unemployment is at record lows as new industries emerge to fill gaps left by severed galactic connections. Earth's universities are flooded with applications from across coalition space. The planet that was supposed to suffer in isolation has instead become a beacon. But the Vorlians are not finished. Unable to force compliance through economic pressure or limited military action, they begin a propaganda campaign. Coalition worlds are painted as havens for genetic defectives, societies in decline that will collapse under the weight of their inefficiency. Vorlian media produces documentaries showing carefully selected examples of disabled individuals receiving support, framing this as evidence of wasted resources. The coalition responds with its own media campaign, but instead of defensive arguments, they showcase their achievements. Henry Wu demonstrates his shield technology, explaining how his unique perspective led to the breakthrough. The Tharian researcher with vision loss shows how her sensor array has revolutionized coalition deep space exploration. Dr. Cole narrates a documentary comparing coalition innovation rates with assembly stagnation. The propaganda war has an unexpected effect. Citizens in assembly space begin asking uncomfortable questions. If the coalition's approach is so inefficient, why are they outpacing assembly worlds in technological development? If disabled individuals are such a burden, why do coalition economies grow faster? The monolithic certainty that supported Proposal 447C begins to crack. Ambassador Thulnora detects the shift in opinion and panics. She proposes ever more aggressive measures, including a full military blockade of coalition space. But her influence is waning. Species that supported the original proposal now have doubts. The economic disruption is not worth the cost. And the moral argument, once dismissed as primitive sentiment, is harder to ignore when the supposed primitives are thriving. The turning point comes from an unexpected quarter. The Zentauri, the silicon-based life forms who had been among the strongest supporters of Proposal 447C, experience a crisis. A rare stellar phenomenon damages the quantum matrices that house their consciousness, a condition analogous to disability in biological species. Suddenly, thousands of Zentauri find themselves impaired, unable to function at their species' expected efficiency levels. Under their own laws, which mirror Proposal 447C, these impaired Zentauri should be euthanized for the good of the collective. But the affected individuals do not want to die. They petition the Galactic Assembly for an exception, arguing that their condition may be temporary, that research into treatment should be allowed to proceed. The Assembly faces a dilemma. Granting the exception undermines Proposal 447C. Refusing it means executing thousands of sentient beings who were, until recently, productive members of their society. The coalition intervenes with an offer. Any Zentari who wishes to seek treatment and refuge is welcome in coalition space. Dr. Mitchell's team, working with Tharian bioengineers who have experience adapting biological systems, believes they can develop treatments for the damaged quantum matrices. The offer is a calculated gamble. If successful, it demonstrates coalition values in action. If unsuccessful, it validates assembly prejudices. Over 3,000 Zentari accept the offer, fleeing assembly space for coalition worlds. The Zentari government denounces them as defective and declares them exiled, but privately, many Zentari are relieved. The alternative was mass execution of beings they had known and worked with for centuries. Dr. Mitchell's team, reinforced by Zentari researchers who had also fled, works for 8 months on the problem. The breakthrough comes when a human neuroscientist named Patricia Lee, who herself has a degenerative neurological condition, recognizes parallels between the quantum, matrix damage and biological neural degeneration. Her insights lead to a novel treatment approach that combines human medical knowledge with Zentari engineering. The treatment is not a complete cure, but it restores most Zentari refugees to functionality. More importantly, it gives them hope and options they would not have had under assembly protocols. The grateful Zentari petition to join the coalition as a diaspora community, and the coalition welcomes them. The incident sends shockwaves through the assembly. If it could happen to the Zentari, it could happen to any species. Disability and impairment are not abstractions to be legislated away. They are realities that can strike anyone. The comfortable certainty that Proposal 447C was about other people begins to erode. A movement emerges within the Assembly calling for repeal of Proposal 447C, led by species that had abstained in the original vote. The movement argues that the law is not only morally wrong but practically dangerous. The coalition's success proves that diversity, including disability, can be a source of strength rather than weakness, and recent events demonstrate that any species can find themselves on the wrong side of eugenics policies. The Vorlians fight back desperately, but they are losing ground. Ambassador Thulnora's rhetoric becomes increasingly shrill, alienating moderate species. The Vorlian government makes a fatal mistake, announcing they will implement the protocols unilaterally regardless of any assembly vote to repeal. This admission that they value eugenics more than galactic unity completes their isolation. The vote to repeal Proposal 447C is scheduled. For the first time since Earth's withdrawal, there is hope that the galactic community might correct its course, but the coalition leadership is cautious. They have built something valuable in their independence. Rejoining the Assembly, even if the offensive law is repealed, would mean giving up hard-won autonomy. The Galactic Assembly convenes to vote on repealing Proposal 447C. The chamber is tense. 3 years have passed since Earth's withdrawal, and the galaxy has changed. The independent coalition is now 12 species strong, controlling over 60 star systems. Their combined economy rivals any major assembly power. Their military, while smaller than the great assembly fleets, has proven capable of defending their interests. The debate is fierce but different from the original discussion. Then, the conversation was abstract, theoretical. Now it is concrete. Species point to the coalition's achievements. They note the stream of refugees fleeing assembly space for coalition worlds. They acknowledge the moral bankruptcy of a law that would have executed the Zentari refugees who now contribute to coalition society. When the vote is called, the result is decisive. By a margin of 672 to 175, with only a handful of abstentions, the Assembly votes to repeal Proposal 447C. The Vorlians walk out of the chamber in protest. Their ambassador declaring the Assembly has betrayed its principles of efficiency and optimization. No one stops them from leaving. The Assembly immediately extends an invitation to the independent coalition to rejoin. The new Assembly leadership promises that individual rights will be protected, that the mistakes of the past will not be repeated, but the coalition response surprises many. They declined to rejoin on the Assembly's terms. President Walsh, speaking for Earth and the Coalition, explains their position. The Coalition has proven that a different approach is viable. They have built institutions based on consent and mutual respect rather than hierarchical authority. They will continue on their independent path. However, they propose a new relationship. The Assembly and the Coalition can coexist as equals, cooperating on common interests while respecting each other's sovereignty. After months of negotiation, a new framework emerges. The Galactic Assembly and the Independent Coalition sign a treaty of mutual recognition. They will maintain separate political structures but establish robust trade relations, scientific cooperation, and mutual defense arrangements against external threats. The blockade is lifted. Coalition vessels gain access to Assembly relay networks, while Assembly ships can use Coalition routes. The new arrangement is not perfect. There are tensions and disputes. Some Assembly species still harbor resentment toward the Coalition. Some Coalition members remain suspicious of Assembly intentions. But it works. Trade flourishes. Joint research projects yield breakthroughs. Cultural exchange increases understanding. 5 years after Earth's withdrawal, Admiral Laura Bennett retires from military service. She has overseen the transformation of Earth's fleet from a small, outmatched force to one of the most innovative in known space. Her final act is to commission the newest dreadnought in the Coalition fleet. She names it the Marcus Cole, in honor of the man whose moral courage sparked Earth's journey. Dr. Cole himself, now in his 70s, continues to serve as a voice for Coalition values. He travels across both Coalition and Assembly space, speaking at universities and conferences. His message is simple. Civilizations are measured not by their efficiency or their technological sophistication, but by how they treat the most vulnerable. By that measure, the Coalition has shown the galaxy a better way. The Vorlian Collective, meanwhile, has isolated itself. Their rigid efficiency-first society cannot adapt to a galaxy that has rejected their philosophy. They maintain limited contact with a handful of like-minded species, but their influence has collapsed. Ambassador Thulnora, facing criticism at home for her failed policies, quietly resigns. The new Vorlian leadership begins cautious outreach to the Coalition, testing whether reconciliation is possible. On Earth, the anniversary of the withdrawal vote becomes an annual holiday. Humanity celebrates not the act of leaving, but the courage to stand for principles when the easy path was compliance. Schools teach the story of Earth's choice as a lesson in moral leadership. Museums display the speeches, the diplomatic documents, and the personal stories of those who lived through the crisis. Henry Wu, the engineer whose SHIELD innovation helped secure Coalition independence, receives the Coalition Medal of Innovation, the highest civilian honor. He accepts it in his characteristic humble manner, noting that his contribution was only possible because he lived in a society that valued him as he was. His speech reminds everyone why the fight mattered. Dr. Sarah Mitchell's quantum drive technology has been refined and improved, now used throughout both Coalition and Assembly space. The irony is not lost on anyone. Technology developed by a species threatened with isolation has become the new standard for galactic travel. Earth, the planet told it would suffer for its principles, has instead enriched the entire galaxy. As the story draws to a close, President Walsh prepares to step down after 2 terms in office. She has led Earth through its greatest crisis and helped build a new galactic order based on cooperation rather than coercion. In her final address to the United Earth Parliament, she reflects on the journey. 3 years ago, Earth faced an impossible choice. Stay in a galactic community that demanded we abandon our values, or strike out alone into an uncertain future. We chose principles over comfort, morality over convenience. Many predicted we would fail, that isolation would break us. Instead, we thrived. We discovered that standing for what is right attracts allies, that courage inspires others, that diverse societies innovate faster than homogeneous ones. The Independent Coalition is proof that there is another way. We do not need to sacrifice the vulnerable for efficiency. We do not need to eliminate diversity for uniformity. We can build a civilization that honors every individual, that finds strength in difference, that measures success not by optimization but by compassion. The galaxy voted to euthanize Earth's disabled. Humanity voted to leave instead. And in leaving, we showed the galaxy that there was a better path. Now, together with our coalition partners and in cooperation with a reformed assembly, we walk that path into the future. A future where every life has value, where disability is not a death sentence, where diversity is celebrated rather than eliminated. This is the future we chose. This is the future we have built. And this is the future we will defend for ourselves and for all who come after us. The chamber erupts in applause. Across coalition space, the speech is broadcast and celebrated. In assembly territory, many watch and wonder what might have been if they had found such courage 3 years earlier. But the past cannot be changed. Only the future remains to be written. And in that future, Earth and its coalition partners stand as a testament to a simple truth. The measure of a civilization is not its technology or its efficiency. It is how it treats those who need help. By that measure, humanity and its allies have shown the galaxy what true civilization looks like. Not perfect, not without challenges, but fundamentally committed to the worth and dignity of every individual. That commitment, more than any weapon or any technology, is what makes them strong. That commitment is what changed the galaxy. And that commitment is what will guide them, whatever challenges lie ahead.